So today for Battlefield 2042, we got some new updated gameplay from a much more recent build of the game. This is important because it gives us a better look at how the game will actually be when it launches on November 12th and November 19th. We've got lots of changes to the UI, we've got details on proper weapon customization and the plus system, as well as more gameplay details. And we're going to cover off all of that in today's video. But just before we get into things, a word from our sponsor today, Alienware, and their Aurora desktop gaming PC, packed with the latest powerful hardware. Powered by an Intel 11th Gen Core i7 processor, an Nvidia RTX 3080 graphics card, and 16GB of RAM, this PC will crush pretty much any game you throw at it. High FPS and low latency gameplay, all wrapped up in that striking Alienware design with some lovely RGB lighting as well. I've been using this PC for the Battlefield beta, and it's handled it really well. My gameplay has been captured with it, and I've been impressed with its performance. Plus, it's doubling as my editing rig at the same time, so it's been churning out all those videos for you guys to watch. A massive thanks to Alienware for sponsoring, and for more information on all of the kit in this video, click the link in the description. Okay, starting things off, the UI, and the first part of that, scoring events. These have been drastically updated to improve readability, so it's now much easier to distinguish what you're getting notifications for and which players they're tied to. Scoring events that have been added since the open beta include transport assists, spawn support, resupply and heal support, as well as more in there as well. DICE have said that these have always been part of their plan, it's just they weren't implemented in the open beta because it was an older build. The scoring events themselves are now in the center of the screen below the crosshair, which is where I think most people expected them to be, and it reminds me quite a lot of Battlefield 4, this implementation, so overall, that's a good thing. Over on the left-hand side of the screen, you will now be able to see the kill log. That's been updated. It's much more visible as you land kills on enemies, and of course, this can be cycled through various different iterations, so it'll only show your kills if you want it to, your squad's kills, nearby players, or the entire server if that's what you want. And of course, you'll notice different colors now denoting friendlies and enemies. This is a good improvement. Then there's the compass in this gameplay. It's permanently visible at the center bottom of the screen. This is something in the open beta that activated when you aimed down the sights of your gun, but then it disappeared again when you were just moving around generally. Whether we're going to have the option to turn this off permanently or have it on the only ADS setting or have it on permanently, that remains to be seen, but what I'll say is more options for players, that's better in general. So if we could have those options, that would be awesome. The ping system that didn't work properly in the beta, it was really quite broken, that is now fixed according to DICE. You're going to be able to ping locations, different assets and enemy soldiers, and pretty much use it as the communication tool that it was meant to be for the rest of the players in your squad. Battlefield 2042 seems to almost have completely done away with 3D spotting. That used to be the norm for the franchise, but it's pretty much gone now. And in the open beta, not having that functioning ping system, it made it very difficult to point out gameplay affecting moments, or if you're playing with your friends and you're talking over comms, you couldn't ping something and then tell the person to look at your ping. You kind of just had to describe what you were looking at as best as you could, and then maybe use the compass if you were ADS'd so that you could give a number readout. Now you won't have to do that because the ping system works and that'll be there for launch. That's a really good improvement. And then going along with making things more clear, DICE has mentioned that there have been significant improvements to their colorblind settings in 2042 since the open beta. That's to help support anyone with color deficiencies or anyone who simply wants to change the color of the UI to something different to help them see it more clearly. I know the teal color isn't for everybody, so the fact that you're going to be able to change it to something else, that might be good for some people. This is something that DICE is going to continue iterating on as they get feedback from players. That's the colorblind setting, so expect to see more updates after launch as the game moves into a proper live service. And then, something that I think annoyed a lot of people in the open beta, the critical alert messaging. This was those massive blue or red bars that would drop down at the top of the screen, letting you know if like an enemy team was taking over an objective or if you were losing sector majority or something like that. That feature has been tweaked, thank goodness. It's been replaced with like a dark translucent bar that drops down, and it's either got teal or red text, I think, which is way less distracting, and they've been reduced in size as well, so it doesn't take up as much of the screen as it used to. And also the amount of times that those bars show up as well has been reduced, and that should emphasize the name of the bar, which is the critical alert messaging bar. critical. It's now only going to show you the most important stuff. So again, another good change there. Then we've got a change to the kill cam. This looks a lot smarter than it did in the open beta. It's got some added info on it. It now not only shows the player card of the enemy that killed you, but underneath that, it gives you the weapon that they killed you with, as well as the attachments that they were using on their weapons. So, for example, if you were killed by somebody far off in the distance and they were using a 4x optic, you have a clear explanation of how they were able to see you at such a great distance. Maybe then they were running the heavy barrel for extra range, and it killed you a bit quicker than you expected. Again, that's more information for the player, and that's better. Having that in the final build will be very helpful. The big map option that was deactivated in the open beta is now here on the screen for you, so you can see it. It does seem to take up the entire screen and completely hide all of the UI behind it, so this is a proper full screen view of the map that you're playing on. I guess this is DICE's answer to players who wanted that full view as opposed to only relying on their mini-map. You will now be able to see all of the sectors when you bring up the big map, something that the mini-map was never going to be able to do, and then you can make decisions on which sector you want to move on to next. So at least the big map will be there for launch, that's good to know. And then we have the comma rows, something again that wasn't active during the open beta, but will be there in the final build. This is what it looks like. It's quite a bit different to previous games in the franchise. It's much larger on the screen and easier to read, I think. But again, a bit like the big map, it is taking up quite a lot of space. When choosing the change order option, it opens up a sub-menu below the main body, and that then allows you to select an attack or defend order for your squad if you're the leader. And then you've got other callouts like asking for ammo, heals, spotting backup, and saying thanks to people. So those are the main UI gameplay updates. And now we're going to move on to weapon customization, another heavy point from the beta because, well, you couldn't really properly customize your weapons. You were very limited in what you could do. You'll have realized that the full suite of customization wasn't active and you only had the plus menu. But in the final game, you will be pleased to know that there is a full menu customization section that you can use to set up your weapon and place attachments into the plus menu for each weapon that you run. So it's quite extensive. DICE is calling it the collections screen from the main menu, and in here you can define what your loadout is, and you can give them custom names that will allow you to quickly switch between setups you like, which is a good feature. Now for each weapon in 2042, there will be multiple attachment slots that you can assign different items to. These are taken from an extensive pool of attachments that you unlock the more you play with each weapon. Now anything you assign to slot number 1 on the plus menu, that's the one closest to the center of the plus, that's going to be the attachment on your weapon when you spawn in. So this means you can spawn in with attachments ready to go. That's something for the AK-24 that didn't really work in the open beta. Don't worry, that's been fixed. And then you can change all of the items on the plus menu in the collection screen from the main menu and from the deploy screen during gameplay. So don't worry, you won't have to quit the game and go back to the main menu to change your attachment choices. You can do it all live during the match, which is great news. It appears that for each weapon that the plus menu has, it extends to 3 options in each direction if there are enough attachments for that, and that will give you, I think, up to 12 attachments per weapon, although the UI doesn't quite explain it properly. It may be 2 in some directions and 3 in others. That's not confirmed, but at least there are 3 on some of the arms, so that could mean 12 attachments per weapon that you can quickly change on the fly during all your matches, and you can move all of these around in the deploy or the customization screens as you wish to give you the options that you want on the plus menu during live gameplay. Now this customization, it does look a lot more extensive than what we had during the open beta, and it actually looks more extensive than the last couple of Battlefield games, Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1. I feel what we've got here is actually a level similar to Battlefield 4, and that had quite a lot of numbers of combinations that you could try. So it's great to see DICE giving us a better look at customization here, and it's kind of a return to the older style customization that we used to get back in the Battlefield 4 days. We've also got an updated insertion flow here into matches that you can see running in the background. It's a nice update, I think. It gives the game a bit more flair, especially at the start of the match. I personally didn't really feel like there was much missing here from the open beta, where we just had the loading screen and then the big map and you could just spawn straight in and go. But hey, it's nice of DICE to add some visual upgrades to at least that first spawn that you get on the map. Makes things feel more premium. You come in on this helicopter and then you come out of the back and it's like this seamless transition into gameplay. It's quite nice, actually. And then there's an updated end of round flow as well. We now get soldiers highlighted as the best performers. So I think a couple of different statistics will be highlighted and they'll be shown off as single players. And then there's like a best squad screen as well. Looks a little bit like Battlefield 5, but it seems like we've got more information than what we used to get. So again, a nice upgrade here. Overall, when it comes to gameplay, that's quite a lot to digest. Lots of good updates from the open beta, and it's great to see more polish on the game for the launch of it. But it does still leave me questioning why DICE went with such an old build for the open beta, which could have, and did in many cases, cloud people's opinion and judgment of the game. DICE does say further up the blog post that they branched the game in August. That means they literally branched it out and went, right, this bit for the open beta, we'll go from here. And then they cleaned up lots of things and they removed elements that didn't work properly so that they could test the build and get feedback on the really important things that mattered to them so they could verify the things were working properly. But I don't think there was enough emphasis put on the viewpoint of the average gamer here. They don't really know anything about game development. And I sit here having gone to DICE and seen what the development studio looks like and gone and done feedback sessions, but I'm not a game developer, so I still don't really know how to make video games. And I think at the end of the day, lots of players just don't ever have that understanding of how video games are made. By having this really stripped back, unoptimized beta that wasn't really showcasing the game in perhaps the best light it could have, I think DICE actually hurt the image of their game, and it may have turned some gamers off for the product for good. The core dedicated fans like you and me, we're sitting here watching YouTube videos, watching people streaming, we're talking about the game on social media. I don't think those issues matter so much, and I think those are the people who now look at this and go, hey, maybe the game is going to be in a better state when it launches, and I hope it is. But there are some people who won't know that. They're the people that just play the game once a week, and maybe they did that with a beta. Maybe they downloaded it and only played it for a few hours, and maybe they got this viewpoint that the game's not really ready, because it was branched off so early that it wasn't really ready for such a large-scale open beta for some of the things that normal gamers look for. At the end of the day, normal gamers don't really care about the ins and outs of server performance and the ins and outs of matchmaking. They don't care about that. They care about the visual bugs, the things that are right in their face that they can see all the time. And so I think the open beta, in some regard, did more harm than good. If DICE got the data they needed from the open beta, then that's great for them from a development perspective. But in terms of, like, you know, a gamer perspective and, you know, getting people to actually buy the game, it might not have been such a good idea. But I guess we'll have to see at launch, because no doubt we'll find out whether lots of people are playing this game or not. And I, for one, hope that lots of people are playing the game, because I'm really looking forward to 2042. So that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video on the new specialists, and we can have a deeper discussion there about how they're being implemented into 2042. But now, thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.